All right, let's kick off Pro Soccer Talk this week. We've got a lot to talk about, gents. Let's focus now on the first big segment, which is Champions League. I mean, we're going to rank the favourites right now. Obviously, the penultimate match week of the group stages in the books. We now know 12 of the 16 teams are confirmed in the last 16. 3 Premier League teams are in. Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea all made it. 1, Andy, is still in the mix, Spurs, that we're going to talk about. What are our general thoughts, Nick, on what's happened, who's looking good, and as we head towards the Champions League 16, it's going to be interesting, right, to see how these teams look on the other end in the early 2023 when we kick the tournament back off. But there's still a little bit to be sorted out in the final match week of the group stage.
There is a lot to be sorted out, but I'm already thinking about the knockout rounds, and I will throw something out there when we talk about favorites. What would you give? It's not going to happen. But how early do we need Man City and Bayern to be drawn against each other just to add something else to the rest of the group? Real Madrid's look good as well, but those two teams are, I think, scary teams right now.
Andy, what's your general thoughts? Let's focus on Spurs. Obviously, the VAR decision, Harry Kane thought they'd won it. Antonio Conte sent off, stormed out this press conference. Drama galore at Tottenham there. And they're probably going to make it, though, right, into the last 16. You feeling confident going into that last game?
No. Don't feel confident anytime Spurs take the field right now. It doesn't matter if it's Champions League. It doesn't matter if it's Premier League against Arsenal. It doesn't matter if it's a league game against somebody in the bottom half. It feels like now with Spurs, and I guess we'll just jump right into this. It feels like they're in their own way at the moment. It almost feels like the manager is maybe a little bit in the team's way at the moment with the system and the tactics. And we've talked about it just a little bit. The fact that it is it's not that it's so negative, it's that it's so predictable. And I think that it puts them under so much pressure that's just unnecessary. And they welcome that pressure into their own half of the field. It doesn't matter the opponent. And that's the point. It doesn't matter if they're playing the best team in the world or somebody that they should be beating 3-0. They play the same way, and they give them an opportunity to stay in the game. They give them the recipe to trouble Spurs. They say, hey, we're not great at playing the ball out of the back. We really fold under pressure. We're going to play the ball out of the back every single time. And so you just come and press us. We're going to turn it over in a really bad spot. You're going to have a pretty easy scoring chance. And then going the other way, the injuries up top, they just, without Kulusevski and without Richarlison, Kane and Son up top, it's a nice little duo. But I don't know. The way that the game is going right now, where it's so much about space and how quick that you can counter, those two together up top right now, given the fact that they're both right at around 30 years old, the squad is not as good as maybe as we thought it was coming into the season, I think, is what I'm really coming down to.
It's funny, Joe. I think that when you look at Spurs, we think of all the other teams we could mention injuries, right? Of all the other teams that we want to ride injuries about, because Liverpool has had so many injuries, but Tottenham had them in a spot and a spot in the schedule that I think is really bad for them. There's a reason that it was, I think, 2 shows ago that I was trumping them as a possible contender to slide into that top 4, and that's because they were able to put in a Richarlison or Kulusevski. Harry Kane, I've mentioned this in our group chat a lot. I have become a huge admirer. I think because of Haaland, he is under the radar as he's having an incredible season, but he's playing every darn minute. I mean, look at the numbers. I would be worried if I were Spurs fans, but Antonio Conte probably is worried as well. Can't do anything about it. He has to put them out there if he wants to get out of the Champions League. And Andy's, I think it's hard. It's a difficult point to make because he's such a likable person. But Son doesn't look right now. He just doesn't look right. And with Richarlison, maybe, they're not rushing people back because the World Cup is coming too. I just think this part of the schedule has been very unkind to Tottenham. And I imagine once they're back at full strength, because right now, if you had to add to their team, you'd want another attacking piece. And that really isn't their issue when healthy.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, for Antonio Conte, I think the reason he was so upset was because it was so close qualification. And we know how difficult that this competition has been for him, right? Over the years, all the different teams he's been at, hasn't ever seemed to figure it out in the Champions League. And it's, by my reckoning, Tottenham have actually made it to the Europa League knockout rounds at the very least. So they've got that spot, but Group D's pretty chaotic there. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on there. But will we keep an eye on the favourites? Let's move on from Tottenham chat now. looking around, I mean, let's have a go at sort of counting down our favorites 5-1. I've come up with a top 5. Let me know if you guys, what you think. I'm going to go with Liverpool at number 5. They obviously had the upset defeat. Well, not an upset. They were hammered at Napoli, which, look at how good Napoli have been. Wasn't a huge disappointment now looking back at it. But I think there's something about this Liverpool team, the experience, the fact they'll be a lot healthier when the knockout rounds come around. I'm going to have them at number 5 in the sort of teams to win it. Andy, do you agree with that? You're liking that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I do think they're a knockout team this year. They're a cup competition team this year. Just the way that I don't think they have the depth. I don't think they have the health to sustain 38 games. A real challenge, obviously, if you can just look at what's happening in the Premier League right now. But if you think about the experience that team has, a lot of these players have won the Champions League before. They can, I think, in a one-off situation or a two-leg tie, I think that they can really lock things down defensively. And we know that guy up top, Mohamed Salah, he's been in increasingly better form in recent weeks, and that's a pretty scary thing for everybody.
Yeah, and Nunez as well. They got other guys chipping in with goals, and there'll be a lot of players coming back when the knockout stages roll around. So I'm happy with Liverpool 5. Nick, the next, I think there's a legitimate top 4. These 4 teams I'm going to mention now, I think are kind of clear everyone else. But I've got PSG at number 4 and Bayern Munich at number 3. I mean, do you agree with those rankings?
No.
Okay.
I think if you were to nail me down, I would make Bayern the number 1 team in the world right now.
Oh, wow.
I would. They're a team that's able to dominate the midfield. You know how we used to talk about Kroos and Casemiro keeping everybody in games? Well, you look at Bayern when they can roll out Goretzka and they can roll out Kimmich and some of these other players they have. I know they don't have Lewandowski anymore. And that is a scary thought for Bayern because he has been kind of, he's been talismanic for them. But to me, Bayern's the only team that if I'm Man City, I'm scared of. But I agree with PSG being a cut above as well. Messi's been phenomenal this year in all competitions, and they have other guys.
Yeah, him, Mbappe, Neymar, they're just really turning it on now as a trio. So whatever they're doing, they figured out how to get the best out of one another. As a team, they look more solid. So yeah, PSG, Bayern are right there for me. Maybe we can move Bayern up a spot because I have Real Madrid at number 2. Andy, what do you think about that? I mean, they just ominously kind of clicking through the gears. I know they lost in this most recent week to Leipzig, but job's already done for them. They've looked pretty just casual, right, in the Champions League so far, just strolling through the group stages, and they've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, won it several times, a lot of those players. So, Real Madrid and Bayern, 2, 3, kind of flip-flop, right?
Yeah, casual is a good word. I was going to say workmanlike. It's not been a flashy or spectacular by any means. I think most of the games they've won by just 1 or 2 goals. But they have, I think, an understanding, obviously, from what they did last year of how this competition works and how to pace themselves over the course of an entire season. If you compare where Real Madrid are right now to where they were, I think, at this time last season, things weren't looking so great at this point. And then they obviously went on to win the Champions League. They won La Liga and everything. So, yeah, I think they're going to be there at the end. And the fact that they have, again, it's about that Champions League experience, players that have won it, but they've got a manager who knows all about it as well. And so come down to the quarterfinals. It feels like this could be the chalkest year of the Champions League. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it feels like every year there's one team, they should win it, but will they win it? There's a couple of, these teams look better than they have before, but this year it feels like we've got 4 giants that were already established coming into this season, and they have started the Champions League and said, yeah, we're the giants, and we're going to be the 4 there at the end. And I would be, for one, very, very excited for a Final 4 in the Champions League of City, Bayern, PSG, Real Madrid. That would be box office.
It would be. And you mentioned them there. Man City is a team I've gone with number 1. Nick thinks Bayern should be 1. So I'm open to discussions, but I think ranking-wise, Erling Haaland obviously tips the balance in City's favour, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, the last couple of games, they've been struggling a little bit. A couple of shutout draws, Copenhagen, Dortmund, just getting over the line, but the job was already done. And kind of wrapping Haaland in cotton wool with that little knock he took at Dortmund. And he's got a bit of a sickness. So they're not making any qualms about how important he is to the team, right, Nick? And I think that is why I've got Man City at number 1 for the Champions League, and the fact that I think their team has probably learned the lessons of last season and the season before that when they lost to Real Madrid and Chelsea.
That's why I wouldn't put them 1. I've got to see him do it. I've got to see him do it. It's why PSG is down at 4, to be honest with you, because that attacking trio is phenomenal. And you're right. In a sense, if we were doing this by who's the best team, who's got the most talent, who would you least want to face? Yeah, it's Man City. But if they go down in a first leg, if they still have something to overcome, and it's not like Haaland's been there before. I love Haaland. I think he's a destructive force. I think he's incredible confidence. But he's going to have to go through all this for the first time as well. They didn't add a Lewandowski to the mix, and Bayern did it 2 years ago. And I think Bayern's better than Real Madrid. So, yeah.
We'll shift it around. Shift it around.
No, listen. I love the idea of Man City being number 1, but I learned my lesson last year. Because the whole year I was like, you're not going to pass them, not going to pass them, not going to pass them. And look what happened.
They did. All right, I'm willing to shift it around a bit, but Liverpool 5, PSG 4, Real Madrid 3, Bayern 2, and Man City 1. I'm going to stay with Man City for now, but I feel
like Neapolitans are going to be ticked off.
Yeah, I know. Well done. Good save. That is my next question. Is there anybody else that we like the look of heading into the last 16? Because Napoli have just hammered everyone. You're not sure if that's just the strength of the group. Obviously, Ajax and Rangers are really struggling this season in terms of their squad depth and just the level of the 2 other teams in the group. But they did destroy Liverpool. And that's, and in Serie A, week in, week out, they are just so fun to watch. So, and Napoli, the obvious team that we haven't mentioned in here, Andy, to look out for. Is there anybody else? Because we mentioned Group D with Tottenham. It's pretty much anybody's game heading into the last group stage game there. People can make it into the last 16. So there's 4 places in that 4 teams remaining and that can make it into the last 16. But I'm looking at the likes like Inter Milan are looking good. Obviously, Chelsea, we know they have the pedigree of doing it recently and having some of those players still around. And if Kante, Reece James are back fit for the knockouts, then that's a big boost for them. But any other team you really like the look of in the Champions League?
Yeah, it's probably Napoli, and I like that you asked the question in that very specific way with that language. Like the look of, I love watching Napoli. They are incredible to look at and watch them play. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be though into the knockout rounds of the Champions League, and I think that's always the thing when you have not a flash in the pan team. I wouldn't call them that, but a team that kind of comes out of nowhere, catches a lot of people off guard. I think they've caught a lot of people in Italy off guard this season to start the season as well. And you come into the Champions League, what is it? I think 20 goals or 16 goals scored, 20 goals scored, and just 4 conceded for a plus 16 goal differential. I got there in the end. They have a style and an identity, I think, that gives them confidence in the way that they play. And we talked about Spurs, and not to bring it back to that, but when you have that, I think it makes for a better team. It makes for better performances as well. And I think in the end, it typically generates better results. And to just have everything as settled as they do at this point of the season is very impressive. The World Cup can blow all of that up, of course, and so we'll see. But Napoli, a fun team into definitely the quarterfinals for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. They've been an absolute breath of fresh air to the tournament. Finally, I want to mention as well, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Sevilla, all dropping down to the Europa League. I mean, 3 of the big 4 in Spain there, obviously dropping down. Xavi's been saying that La Liga is still as good as the Premier League, that he believes in his opinion. I'll have whatever he's having personally. But I think it's really interesting to see the Premier League teams just cranking through the gears. If Spurs do, as we think they will take care of business in the last group game, that'll be all 4 Premier League teams. Andy, it's okay. It's going to be okay.
You think that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
So I think the Premier League, again, has just really shown its, obviously, the financial muscle, the power, the players that they can attract. Now can the rest of Europe keep up with them? And I only really see Real, PSG, and Bayern really being able to stick anywhere close to the Premier League giants. So,
hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.